Once, in a quiet valley village called Willowbrook, lived a woman named Clara Reed. She was in her late 30s, and for the past 3 years, she had lived alone ever since her husband Ethan passed away from an illness. Her small wooden cottage stood at the edge of the village, surrounded by whispering pines and endless silence. But peace was the one thing Clara didn't have. The villagers believed she brought bad luck. They avoided her, whispered behind her back, and taught their children never to go near her home. Every morning, when Clara fetched water from the well, she could hear their murmurs. There she is, it's the cursed one. And yet she said nothing, only looked at the sky and wondered, what sin did I commit to deserve this life? One evening, as the sun dipped behind the mountains, Clara sat outside her cottage, lost in thought. That est, when she saw them, 3 old men, walking slowly along the dusty road that led into the village. They wore simple gray cloaks and carried wooden staffs. Their faces were calm, almost glowing with quiet wisdom. The villagers rushed to greet them, offering food and shelter, hoping for blessings. But when the eldest man looked at Clara, he stopped. His eyes softened. This woman, he said, carries great pain. But her story is not over yet. Everyone turned to stare at Clara, the woman they had shunned for years. For the first time, she felt something she hadn't in a long while. Hope. That night, she couldn't sleep. Who were those men? What did they mean by saying her story wasn't over? At dawn, Clara walked to the old stone chapel where the strangers were staying. When they saw her, the eldest one said softly, "You came because you wished to change your life." Clara nodded. "I just want peace," she whispered. "I want to stop feeling like my life is a curse." The second man spoke, "Peace begins when you face what you fear most." The third added, "Tonight, you will stay alone in the forest. No fire, no light, just you." In the night, Clara's heart froze. The forest was wild and full of unknown creatures, but something inside her said yes. If she wanted her life to change, she had to be brave enough to face the dark. That night, the 3 men led her to the forest's edge and left her there. The air was thick and cold. She sat beneath a giant oak, trembling. Every rustle, every whisper of wind made her heart pound. Then she saw a shadow moving between the trees, slow, tall, silent. Her hand shook, but she remembered the old man's words, "Peace begins when you face what you fear." Clara closed her eyes, took a deep breath, and whispered, "I'm not afraid anymore." And just like that, the shadow vanished. The forest grew calm. The fear that had ruled her heart for years began to fade. When morning came, the 3 strangers returned. The eldest smiled. "You have passed your first trial. You faced your fear and won." For the first time in years, Clara smiled too. The next morning, the strangers led Clara to a quiet river. "This time," said the second man, "your test is sacrifice. You must let go of what you hold most dear." Clara froze. The only thing she truly cherished was her husband's photograph, the last piece of her past. It was the one thing that kept her connected to who she used to be. She hesitated. Tears filled her eyes. But deep down, she knew to move forward, she had to let go of the past. So, she kissed the photograph one last time and placed it in the flowing river. As it drifted away, she felt a strange lightness inside her chest. Pain, the guilt, the loneliness, they began to dissolve with the current. The final test came days later. The eldest man said, "Now you must give, not for yourself, but for another." In the village lived an old woman, weak and hungry, with no one to care for her. Clara gave her the little she had, her food, her blanket, and even her cottage. Then she walked back into the forest to meditate for 7 days, with nothing but faith in her heart. By the 7th day, when the strangers returned, Clara's eyes glowed with quiet strength. "You've passed," the eldest said. "You faced fear, let go of pain, and found kindness. You are free." When Clara returned to the village, people barely recognized her. The sorrow on her face was gone. In its place was peace, deep, real, and unshakable. And for the first time, the villagers didn't turn away. They bowed their heads and said, "Forgive us." Clara smiled gently. "The power to change your life," she said, "has always been inside you." From that day, She was no longer the lonely widow of Willowbrook. She was the woman who taught others how to heal.